so we could be competitively priced sharper. Say competitive, but I mean sharper, and it's fresher. And now I have to educate you as a customer to the health benefits.
Hey everyone, my guest today is Frank Dandrea, president of Dandrea Produce and a visionary leader in the produce industry for over 25 years. Dandrea Produce was actually founded in 1917, 108 years ago, by Frank's grandfather. Dandrea Produce began as a family farm in Vineland, New Jersey, and under Frank's leadership, it has grown into one of the East Coast premier growers and distributors nationwide of fresh fruits and vegetables, offering over 140 globally sourced items, everything from blueberries and clementines to peppers and tomatoes and more. Frank has spearheaded innovations in direct-to-store transport, streamlined logistics, and a vast network of global growers. His latest venture, Green Lane, reimagines the future of grocery shopping with direct-to-home delivery, ensuring consumers receive hand-selected, safely packaged produce, the freshest available days before they could get it in the grocery store, but right to their doorstep. Frank's dedication has earned him numerous industry and community accolades. And with his daughter, Jana, representing the fourth generation of leadership, Dandrea Produce is set to continue its legacy of growth and innovation now in its fourth generation. Let's unravel the fingerprints on success of Frank Dandrea. Hey everybody, I'm Bill Barrett. Welcome to Fingerprints on Success. I'm joined today with my guest, Frank Dandrea, president of Dandrea Produce. Frank, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Bill. Thank you.
Frank, I'd love to start with you telling the story. I mean, here's a company, founded by, I believe, your grandfather in 1917. So a family business that has literally been in business for over 100 years. And, you're the third generation. And I'd love for you to just kind of tell us the story of the company and then how you got involved along the way.
Sure. As you said, my grandfather started it in 1917. So today we just broke a 108-year-old company. We have the fourth generation in. My daughter, Janet, is operations manager for the company, and she's the fourth generation. I got involved, when I was in my early 20s. I went to the university and then left the university and went right into work with the family company. And since then, we just grew it in different veins. And we're wholesale produce distributors. At the time I got involved, my father was running the company. My grandfather had passed in the early 60s. And he was also working in the sheriff's department in Atlantic County, New Jersey. And he ran the produce end that he had it was essentially in the summer months where we sold product to pickling companies like Vlasic, Heinz, Mail Olive, people like that we kind of developed. And when I got involved, I was more interested in what we called the fresh produce distribution, which was retail distribution. ShopRite, Acme, Stop and Shop, Key Foods, people of that nature. So when I came on board, I started to work that angle. And we then developed it into, which we have today, is worldwide distribution. We followed the sun, so to speak. So as I sit with you today, we're receiving product from Peru, we're receiving it from Chile, we're receiving it from Mexico, we're receiving it from Morocco. And we also opened up recently a packing facility in California that started to ship in early November. And I went after what we call the retail business or chain store business, and we were relatively successful and kept growing it. And in today's world, Bill, we try to stay ahead of the curve. And Dandrea has been relatively successful doing that. And I'll illustrate something to you, a couple things to you, so you'll grasp that. So when we entered into the business, there was just wholesale produce distributors, and they were essentially buyers and sellers and they had their own businesses. And there's a number of people in the Vineland area is an agricultural area. You're in North Jersey, but you understand South Jersey is agricultural. And people had their customers, whether it be ShopRite or Stop and Shop or Acme or Publix or whoever it was. And what we did, we then went into the actual farming business via financing and hired the right people to farm. And then we went overseas to import products from all these different countries. And we set up the distribution system where we built our own facilities. At the time, people would ship from all over the country or all over the world. And you would hire the warehousing, the logistics, the packing. So if we took the mandarins, clementines in, and they come in a 33-pound box, and you put them in a 10 3-pound bag box. All those services were hired, but there's fees involved in every step of the way. Logistics from the port, storage in the cooler, packaging, and that goes back to the grower. So you sell it, you take a commission, and all those charges go back. Well, what we did, I think we were a little bit progressive, and I'll tell you where I think we're progressive today, is we put up our own facility 30 years ago. Today, everybody's got one.
Right.
There's a dozen people that put up their own facility. They kind of followed our lead, our logistics. We opened up our own, we bought our own trucks. So instead of hiring, we did everything internally. At every function of distribution, we controlled. We were a little bit ahead of our time, as I tell you today. People that do what we do, big or smaller, almost everybody put up their own facility or went in conjunction with somebody to do those same functions. It was successful because essentially what it did, Bill, is it generated a revenue stream for us. It wasn't extraordinary. The revenue stream was always there. It was simply a matter of putting it in-house or hiring it outside your realm. We were successful with it and continued to grow the business like that. So then as you do that, you go get more and more customers. You go out, you try to work the sales end and get as many customers as you can. And we were relatively, again, successful at that. And it got us today to where the next leap forward that we think is we opened up a company called Green Lane Distribution. So in fact, if you go online, it's trygreenlane.com. It's a home delivery. So again, we've taken that next step where the product, all those functions are still in-house here, logistics, warehousing, packing, etc. But we take the product directly to your house. So we circumvented, and we think this is where the business is going. We've circumvented the traditional go to the supermarket today.
Right.
You go online, you order the product, we deliver it to your house. It's essentially 3 days ahead of when you would get it. If you're a North Jersey guy, so maybe you're going to Acme, maybe it's Stop and Shop, maybe it's ShopRite. I don't know, and they're all customer partners. But that time frame is about 3 days. So you're getting the product, produce. By the way, by the end of this month, we're going to add meats, dairy, deli, bakery, all the fresh world. We want to stay in the fresh world.
Right. That's your spot.
Produce, meats, dairy, deli, bakery, even horticulture. That's kind of seasonal for Valentine's Day and birthdays and wedding anniversaries and things like that. So yeah, and you'll get that product. So your shelf life will increase, and the quality is perfect because we look at everything that gets packaged. Our people are instructed on a quality control mission. So if you order whatever you order, you go online and it's all the items. It's dozens and dozens and dozens of commodities. Before it goes into the bag, it's an insulated bag, temperature controlled. They got to look at it, and it took us, I'm going to say, 2 years of slow growth. We did not want a million orders to come in because it would overwhelm us. So we did it on a controlled growth basis. And our surveys have shown us that the people are exceptionally happy with the quality and the service. And that's the next, to us, that was the next leap in the distribution of food, fresh food.
Right.
Now, in addition to that, Bill, particularly in the produce world, we're trying to develop an advertising program that would show you the benefits, the health benefits of fresh fruits and vegetables. It's so far above fast foods or convenience. It's the best thing you could possibly do. And every item we sell comes with some type of health benefit for a specific issue. Beets help with low blood pressure, high blood pressure, excuse me. Blueberries help with cancer, and so forth. Now, I can't say that. I'm not a doctor. I'm
Right.
American Medical Association, but they're the people that publish this data. So our goal here is to first provide the freshest, highest quality, competitive pricing, if not sharper than retailers, because quite frankly, Bill, we don't have the distribution system. Let me rephrase that. I take a load of blueberries. I send it to a company that has a gigantic warehouse. Could be a million square feet. All these trucks there. They then put it in the warehouse. They hold it for a day or so. They then put it on their trucks and they ship it to the stores. That's the second or third day. And then they're shipping it to a store that's all bricks and mortar. So the warehouse bricks and mortar, the store's bricks and mortar, all the cost involved in that is substantial.
Sure. It's all getting added on to the product.
We don't have it. It's gone. The electric, the labor, the transportation, the overhead, the insurance, the benefit, it's gone. So we could be competitively priced, sharper. I say competitive, but I mean sharper. And it's fresher. And now I have to educate you as a customer to the health benefits. Now, part of the issue is it's not really, I don't know the word, it's not really as cheap to eat fresh than eat fast food.
Of course.
But it's way healthier. And if you look at it in the longer term, it will be cheaper. So you don't have the illnesses. So it's the last. I'm getting. I'm becoming an old guy now, and
experienced.
Young guys
We don't like to say old. We like to say experienced.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. But they get it, and that's what we're considering the last position we've taken in terms of being ahead of the curve for growing produce and distributing fresh produce. And we've set up a distribution essentially around the world. It's people don't realize it's not because they're unknowledgeable, but you go to the supermarket today and you want blueberries today, right?
Yep.
If you go in there today, they're coming from Chile, Peru, Morocco, or Mexico. But yet they're super fresh. So people in the produce business are exceptional at logistics and distribution, to providing quality. You don't know, you just want blueberries.
That's right.
It used to be when we were younger, you got blueberries when New Jersey was in season. Now they grow them all over the world. It's fascinating. And people don't realize how good the logistics and distribution system in the produce world, we're the best at. And a lot of it, some of it's flown in, very costly. It depends on the pricing. The vast majority is shipped in. and vessels come into the Port of Gloucester, the Port of Philadelphia, the Port of Newark, Miami, Savannah. It's a fascinating way, but people, now you go to the supermarket and you want blueberries. But we're good at it. Not
Now,
only Dandrea, I mean the produce world in general is very, very good. So
now, do you still have a family farm as well, right? You still do grow things as well as source around the world.
We have growing operations in New Jersey, and around the world, it's virtually contractual with growers. And as I talked to you today, earlier today, I was speaking with the shippers out of South Africa and Chile and Peru for the next citrus business. So today you're getting grapes and blueberries and cherries out of Peru and Chile, but the citrus doesn't start until the early summer. So we set those programs now with growers. We talk to them how many we need, what size, what quality, what prices we think they're going to be. In New Jersey, to your point, we operate 2 or 3 farms with, I don't know, some we finance the entire thing, some growers we work with directly. And it's interesting you say that. Yesterday, we had a retailer in here, and we provided him, here's the 50 items we're going to be growing this year. What is your projection on what you would need? So it's New Jersey is the greens in April, May, June. Parsley's, romaine, red leaf, green leaf, beets, radishes, cilantro, things of that nature. It was like 30 items, 40 items, beets. And then it shifts into what we call dry veg, eggplant, cucumbers, peppers, things of that nature. And then it goes back again to the greens in the fall, and the dry veg goes all the way till the end of the frost. So we operate 500-acre farm, something like that. I kind of get lost. There's 3 or 4 farms that we own. Some we own 100, some 180-acre one or something like that. And then we lease other areas, and then we fund it. Now, I am not the guy, growing. I don't have.
You're not putting on your overalls and going out in the field.
I don't know how to do it. If you told me tomorrow, here, you could grow romaine and we'll pay you $1,000 a box, I wouldn't know how to get it up out of the ground into the box.
Right.
But we work with growers that have been, like our business, in it for generations. Now, I'll also tell you that there's been a diminution in the volume of people growing because it hasn't been as profitable as it was years ago. Like today, we have the Vineland produce auction. One line you could say. When I was growing up through the business, there was probably, I don't know, somewhere between 1,000 and 1,300 or 1,400 growers. Today is probably 10% of that. So a lot of it's been consolidated in bigger growers, and a lot of people have simply left the business, and that's a consequence of economics. Agriculture, Bill, it's a lifestyle. It's not an 8-to-5 job. You don't go home on the weekends. We're here 6 days a week, year round. We had 9 inches of snow here the other day. Everybody was in the office. Now we let them go, be careful, please. And then let everybody go early as soon as we had all the phone calls done and stuff. But it's a lifestyle. So so you can't, this got to sound kind of quirky or silly, but there's no school of produce at Harvard. You learn these things through the family. How to grow things, like what to apply when, and there's a lot of variables to it, and there's an inherent knowledge in the practice of it year after year after year. But when it doesn't become financially beneficial to the family, and the guys in it love it, they leave. Who becomes an electrician, who becomes a lawyer, who goes back to school, whatever. So there's been a diminution in that. Now that'll affect the supply chain. And a lot of it now goes overseas. Cheaper labor, which is really the driving cost. So it's a as the demand goes up fresh fruits and vegetables. And I don't really want to get into politics here, but I was buoyed by the fact that if someone like Robert Kennedy, first of all, I'm a Republican, all right, I don't know, but you get somebody like Robert Kennedy who's pushing fresh fruits and vegetables, health, health, health. That's what we sell, health. And essentially, it shouldn't be the produce department, it should be the health department. But people have to have an inherent knowledge of what is beneficial to you. Everybody knows eating fruits and vegetables is better, right? Is there anybody that would tell you it's bad?
I know from the time you're a little kid, that's what you're taught.
Okay, so Bill, you're an educated guy, you're a successful attorney. You tell me what benefits in the fruit and vegetables that you're eating. You know, you won't, you'll go, I don't know.
Right.
But you know it's
they're good
better
for me. My mother told me they were good for me.
Okay, so how do I educate you that, and as people today, as the population ages, you have inherent issues when you get older. People are living older. There's different benefits to the different fruits and vegetables. In our home delivery thing, I want to educate you to that. You could see, I want to show you if you eat this, it's better for this. Like I said, high blood pressure or a cancer or a host of items. So it's a fascinating thing. As I'm telling you, on this side of the ledger, you have a diminution in the number of people entering the agricultural growing field. On this side, you have more people requiring more food.
So let me take you back a little bit, because I think for our entrepreneurs out there, most of our audience are closely held business owners, entrepreneurs, both existing, successful, aspiring. And one of the things that everyone loves to talk about is scale. Right now you guys are providing fresh products all over the country, right? I mean, you have distribution everywhere. Now that didn't
essentially Texas to Minnesota, Maine to Florida. That's our generally distributed. Different retailers, different wholesalers. So that's what it is.
And that doesn't happen on accident. I just would love to hear kind of your thoughts on how did you take it from where it was? How did this business go to where you were able to scale to have that kind of market penetration? Were there things along the way that you look at and say, well, it was this type of strategy or this type of relationships or that got you there?
I can't. It was a simple matter of working at it, going to visit the different retailers. That the advantage in the U.S. as opposed to other countries are there's just a plethora of retail operations. Now there's been a lot of consolidations. When I was younger, in this area, as I said, I would target an area, Boston. And in that area, there was Market Basket, there was Stop and Shop, there was Star Markets.
Yep.
There's all these different retailers. So you simply take your little briefcase and you go to sell yourself, and you try to get a portion of the business. And then within those retail operations, they break it into different entities, local products, veg products, fruit products, packaged products. So you have to deal with multiple buyers in those fields. So I just went out and when I picked an area, I would try to go to 5 or 6 or 10 different retailers, hoping I would come back with 1 or 2, just to get in. Not like go conquer the world. If they're buying 500 loads a week, they're not giving you 400.
Sure.
Maybe they give you 5. And then you start. And once you build credibility, as you add commodities, they allow you in. These retailers are enormous. And so we just would pick an area and say, okay, what are the primary customers we'd like to service there in that area? And we would make appointments and go see them and make our pitch. And then you would have to deliver. I mean, it's serious. There are retail operations that, you can't play. If they need something on Tuesday, they don't need it on Wednesday. Right. So it was simply a matter of hard work. It just working.
Yeah. When you look back and think about the journey, because obviously, a company like yours, I mean, not only has it had incredible longevity and growth, but it's reached a very, high level of success. Were there certain philosophies or mindsets or kind of like ways that you thought about things or approach things that you think when you look back, you say, because we acted like this or because we took this approach, it made a big difference. It kind of a guiding principle type of thing.
I'll try to answer it this way. I think our proposition to people, like when we first got into this business, it was termed like this. There was growers, distributors like ourselves, and retailers. And you were in the same vein, but you were in competition with each other. The grower wanted more money, the retailer wanted to pay less. We're in the middle. We were able to convince growers, ourselves obviously, and the retail people and wholesale distributors that we're in it collectively. We're not in it to be against each other. We're all rowing in the same canoe. We got to go the same way. Now, you can't expect a grower to lose money. Happens sometimes, like any other business in the world. Nor the retailer. They need certain margins to sustain their business. So I think we were relatively successful at bringing everyone together and saying, look, there's a finite cost to growing whatever. Right. And it's a little fluid. Why is it fluid? Labor problems, weather problems, but the general number is X. X plus this margin is what the grower needs to sustain his business. At that net number, that's a very, very good retail number. You can't grow it any cheaper. It costs what it costs to grow. The box is X, the labor's X, the fertilizer's X. Now those things have moved mightily over the last 10 years. Retailers are the same. The issue becomes there's a finite amount that you will pay for X. You're not paying $8.99 for a pint of blueberries. Maybe you do. I don't know. But most people will go, you got to be nuts. It's too much. Now, $8.99 is like $90 a box, almost $100 a box. That's high. But everyone needs their margin spread over the total sales of what they do. So maybe you make a little bit less money on a romaine, but you pick it up on the apples or the citrus. There's a little bit extra margin there, and you blend into a certain margin. Everybody needs their margin. So when you work collectively instead of against each other, you establish a business success, a business philosophy that works for all involved. Now, Bill, it's never perfect in the produce business.
Or in any business for that matter.
Well, but produce gets affected by disruptions in labor, which we've had all over the world. Last year, there was Peru went into, they were protesting and they stopped for 2 or 3 weeks right in the middle of harvesting. The unions shut down, we wanted to shut down the ports this year. In fact, I think they just heard today that they're keeping the port open. But those things become very disruptive because you got to remember, we're not selling widgets that you manufacture, put them in a warehouse, and it's not paper towels or bottled water.
Right.
It doesn't get better. They get worse in time. So that distribution system has to be accurate, and the labor to get the product into the box at the right qualities and quantities is just as important. And let alone the weather. Now, there's been bad weather in Peru this year, and it screwed up the grape program. What we've seen, Bill, I've noticed in the last couple of years, and I think this is a consequence of having fewer people produce product, is the swings in prices are exponentially more than what they were when I was younger. So if for whatever the reason, I'm going to say lettuce this past year in New Jersey. If the weather was a problem, it got too hot and it's still bolted. It shoots the seed, the head of the romaine, the stem comes right out of it. Every item in the world, the function of every item in the world is to reproduce itself. Everything.
Interesting.
So your harvest, everything under the sun. The function of that is to reproduce itself. In agriculture, you're harvesting that stuff before it goes to seed and reproduces itself. Now, there'll be disruptions in supply. Too much rain, too much heat, yada, yada, yada. What we found lately is if the market was $15 and there was some disruptions in supply, it would go to 19, 20. Today it goes to 45. This spring they were selling lettuce for $85. You'd plant lettuce in your living room for $85 a box.
Right.
But so there's a disruption. When there is a disruption, the shortage gets magnified because there's less people doing it. Now that's something you just got to learn to deal with.
Yeah.
And we're trying to navigate that, and we do it through planning and then monitoring. Like, we know if we're going to get 5 inches of rain in 3 days from now, you know. Now sometimes you can do something about it, sometimes you can't. But it's in the, like, to answer your question, I think it's in the collective. We're all in it together. People that are growing and distributing and retailing fresh fruits and vegetables.
Yeah. Right. It's a mindset. What you're really, not to put words in your mouth, but what I think what you're really saying is it's a mindset of trying to create a win-win situation for everybody, not looking at it as we're all in it together and we have this one pie and we all want to have a piece of the pie big enough that we can satisfy our appetite reasonably well. And if one person takes too big of a slice, then someone's going to end up short on the pie. That's really it.
Who won't be there for you next season.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this question, and I mean it in a more personal way, not the business, but personally. Like, as the entrepreneur, when you look back, if you could advise, if Frank today could advise Frank 20 years ago, hey, here's a list of some things you shouldn't do, or that are going to be a mistake, or that, because no entrepreneur goes on a successful journey and doesn't have a handful of things that they say, man, if I could go back, I never would have done this, or I would have watched out for this problem. What are some things you could share with our entrepreneurs out there? Kind of words of wisdom that you would pass back to yourself if you could.
I don't. But that's a really broad question, and not that it's not correct, but I'd say that being ahead of the speculative nature of agriculture would have been much, much wiser. Had we been able to form the alliances in terms of distribution that we have today, then it would have been better for everybody all along. Meaning that the planning, there was always as I said, the retailers were against the distributors, against the growers. Not against them, but it was always, how can I get mine and my margins, and I don't care about yours. And that was a mistake. I guess it's looking at it from the context of, like, let's say Procter and Gamble or Kraft. Like, you go in your supermarket and you see all these different labels. There's probably 5 companies that control them all. The same thing would have been better with retail produce. Now, but at the time, there was, oh my God. There was there was more retail operation than there is today. Singular retail operations, and because of that, I think it would have been wiser to plan this growth forever, pushing fresh produce. In the U.S., you still have a lot of retailers, but there's been a huge amount of consolidation. Food Lion, Hannaford Brothers, Stop and Shop, Giant and Carlisle, Giant and Landover. They were all independent operations. Today, it's one company. There's still a lot in the U.S. You know how many there are in England? 4.
Wow.
You know how many there are in Canada? 4. Loblaws, Sobeys, Metro, Walmart. They control, or Costco, they control it all. 90%.
Wow.
It's evolving. So and I think that's unlike a lot of industries. Through consolidations, the big get bigger, and then they leverage their power against growers, and they must recognize that growers are remarkably independent. There's no union for growers. So as you make it less profitable, or let me rephrase that, more risky to show profit because you can't know ahead of time, align the pricing, you start to lose supply. Then you get these wild swings in pricing. The retail, listen to this one, Bill.
Sure.
In the retail food business, when you go in your supermarket, per dollar spent, you know what returns the highest profit? In the entire store? Produce. That's why you see it in the front of the store. Couple reasons. Drive the sales, the aroma, the eye appeal, colors. Produce produces the highest profit per dollar sold than anything in the store.
Wow.
Maybe seafood. I don't know. Nobody cares about seafood. It's not. It's too volatile.
I wouldn't have thought that. Honestly, I wouldn't have thought
biggest
that.
Margin.
Interesting.
And now, if you move people into it, you want people to buy more and more produce.
What would you say? I'm going to ask you two questions. If you had to say, again, as the business owner, as the person in charge, what would you say is the best business decision you ever made, and what would you say was the worst business decision that you ever made?
Wow. Man, that's hard to. I don't know. I'd say perhaps the best I made was to expand the supply chain globally. The worst, perhaps, is sometimes these things need a lot of funding up front. And there's times we got slapped around pretty good by funding it. And then for whatever reason, they lose a crop, they have problems, you don't get the product. Now you have to swing it in the next year or two. So if I fund, and we're doing it now, if I fund something in South Africa, we're talking about it right now. Money's got to go. And let's say we put $1 million there.
Right. Because the grower, right, just so the audience understands too, the grower can't grow the crop without the money, and you need the crop. Right.
Everybody needs financing.
Yeah.
Part of the problem in agriculture is you're front loading the cost of growing these things. You're buying seeds or transplants or trees. Then you're fertilizing them. You're cultivating the ground. You spray whatever chemicals you have to keep the damn thing healthy. Then you get to finally where, and it takes time to grow this stuff. So then you fund it. And there's been times, it's not because we're silly or unknowledgeable, or you just lose the crop. You lose that money. I think what I'm telling you. What do I do next year? You got to do it all over again.
Yeah. And you probably can't recoup the loss really, or at least not all of it, because it's,
Sometimes, Bill, it takes us 2 to 4 years to get that money back.
Yeah.
And we hope the grower will stay with us, and they generally do. And sometimes they fold. So I can't tell you this. I mean, there's been times you just got beat up, but I don't see how else we could have done it. If you don't do that, you don't get any product. Yeah. So it's a catch-22, right?
Yeah, it sure is. Frank, when you think back along your career and success, did you have any mentors along the way that, especially, in a family business too? Was there anyone when you look back, you say, man, if it wasn't for this person, I don't know if I'd even be where I am right now?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. There's been a host of them. Obviously, my father. Now, my father instilled in us a work ethic it's just unheard of today. And as I told you, he was working for the. He didn't go into business with my grandfather immediately. he went into the sheriff's department in Atlantic County. Then when he rolled back into the produce business, he stayed in the sheriff's office. Ultimately, he became the sheriff of Atlantic County.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, great guy. Love politics. The most beloved person on the planet, and re-entered the produce business on his own after my grandfather died. He kept what we called I told you, the processing end, the pickling end. It was cucumbers and cherry peppers and long hop peppers and bell peppers. It was in our B&G, Block and Guggenheimer. You know them?
Sure. Yeah.
It was those type of customers. That was his second job. Now that was from first week June until frost. So he would work the sheriff's company, had people operating the produce, buying, selling, distributing. He would come in after work and do that. And we ain't gonna think this is nuts, but it was who he is. In his early years, he was friends with a company. The fellow's name was Joe Madden. He owned a company called Will Mad Glass. He would allow Dad. I'm just illustrating here the work ethic. He would allow Dad to go to his production facility, and it could be 1 or 2 in the morning, and cut glass. Like they would sell glass to pharmaceutical companies, or like little. So you get paid everyone you give the half a cent or something everyone you cut. So that had 3 jobs. He would go there for an hour and a half, 2 hours, at 1 in the morning, then go to the sheriff's office, then come back there. So he instilled in us a work ethic. We worked 7 days a week. Anybody on the shore? And, we would do this 7-day week thing. And again, it becomes a lifestyle. Today you tell people that, they think you're nuts.
Right.
You're nuts.
Right. They want to know how many days they can work from home. It's the first question.
You got that too. So it becomes instilled in you. And like I said, it's like a lifestyle, and you don't think in conventional terms. Now it's outdated today. You're 100% right. Terribly outdated. But here we still do it, and you have to. Things change during the day. A truck misses, or somebody needs something late, and you have to scramble to get the transportation or get the product in, make sure it's right. The way it is, produce.
Yeah.
So
your dad had a big impact on you.
Huge. There was other people, Bill, to answer your question. When I came into the company, I was 21 or 20 years old, and there was in the Vineland area, there was 40 or 50 people like us. We were like the infants in it at that time. We grew into the biggest one. But there were people. There was a fellow by the name of Phil DeMarco who had business in Canada. I think it was, I forget if it was Metro. Anyway, he was my father's age, but he befriended me. So you learn. You would talk to him. And this is kind of interesting. There was another fellow by the name of Andy Consolo. Consolo family at the time were the biggest in it. And when I came in, I didn't know. As I said, there's a distinction between the processing end, pickling end, processing end, or the fresh and retail chain stores. I knew I wanted to do retail business because it was year-round from all over the country at the time. We weren't international then. Andy was kind enough, knowing that I'm going to end up competing with the guy, to help me. So I'm eternally grateful for them. Now, they both have passed. They've been deceased for quite a while. But that's true. Another fellow by the name of Buddy Diuta. These are all icons in the Vineland or South Jersey agricultural industry. And they were very, very kind to me. Didn't have to be.
Yeah.
No,
because they were funny. They were friendly competitors, basically, right? I mean, they were.
I was 21 years old.
Yeah.
I wanted to do what they were doing, take our business in that direction. The truth is, they knew. Food Town. Do you have Food Town stores up by
here? Sure. When I grew up, there was a Food Town where I lived.
Okay. I ended up getting into Food Town. I ended up getting into ShopRite. getting into Acme. So I get a little bit, and nobody wants more competition. But they were gracious enough because in our world down here, people are just nice people.
Yeah. Well, in the current vernacular, so to speak, people would say they didn't use the term then, but now they would say they came from abundance, right? They didn't come from scarcity.
Yeah,
They
no,
came
no,
from,
right.
they weren't worried about, the fact that you would get some business or anything like that. They did the right thing.
Listen, Bill, not everybody was like that.
Yeah.
But there was a number that you said, like mentors, there was a number of them there's 2 or 3 or 4 that were very good like that.
Yeah.
But some other guys were a little bit more caustic about it. And I can remember one instance, and it was the ShopRite company. I'm not going to say the name, but this guy selling ShopRite 42 loads a week. I was getting 4 pallets. And I thought I was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I got in the ShopRite. So the guy stops me one day at the auction, the produce auction. I was a young guy, and he was my father's age. In fact, he was very friendly with my father. And he said to me, Frankie, come over here. All right. How can I help you? Who gives you the right to sell my customer? So I said to him, what? And it was a chain store the guy was really harassing me in public. It was not nice. And I said, sir, with all due respect, when they paid me for that product, it wasn't your name on the lower right-hand corner of the check. So thank you.
Good,
But
good for you.
I'm going to continue to say, no, it was embarrassing. Now, the guy was kind of right. They become one of our biggest customers. We started to do 25 million with them a year. Took time. But so there were people that were remarkably amenable and helpful, and some that not so much.
Do you try to kind of pay it forward or mentor people, or when you think back on that, like, do you have opportunities now to kind of do that for people, or internally or externally?
I don't know that I do it in the business world. I think my grandfather had a saying that it's remarkably simple, but it's remarkably intuitive and truthful. And it was simply just be nice. That's it. Just just be nice to people.
That's right.
So now, in this business, yeah, there's people that who went and bought a truck and said, "Frankie, could I do some hauling for you guys?" Yeah, sure, of course. Now, it's not. It benefits him and it benefits me too. But you just be nice to people. There are people, Bill, that some people work here, some people have had illnesses and still do today. And they'll call in the holidays and Austin say, "You think you could for Christmas? I'm having the family over. Could you make up some produce for us?" So yeah, I make the guys go package whatever and send it over there. So it's not. I don't. It's. I ain't gonna break either one of it, but just be nice.
Right.
And it comes back.
My father used to have a similar saying. He used to say, it takes the same amount of energy to exert to be a jerk as it does to be a nice guy. Why not just be a nice guy?
At the end of the day, it's better for you, and I think hopefully your kids and they understand that, and not everybody holds that philosophy, but we do, and it's been like the work ethic. It's been ingrained in us to just be nice to people. And that's a philosophy that I think everyone should adhere to.
It's certainly a good one, and you sleep well at night and feel good about what you're doing at the same time.
Bill, my father was so beloved. He was involved in politics, as I said, in the Republican politics, right up to with Nixon. I mean, it was fascinating. Atlantic County. Civil and social things in our little community in Buna. He started this football program, and till today it's called the Buna Brave. It just exploded, but he did it. He did it himself. Involved in business, civil and social things. And the guy just was beloved. He passes. So many people came.
Yeah.
Had to shut the services down. No, we're Catholic, Italian Catholic. The priest came up to us and said, "Guys, you got to tell people nobody else is allowed in." They were out the door down the block. It was a testament that I'll never forget. I don't know, 50, but it was remarkable. He was just beloved, just the nicest guy in the world. Till today, people speak high. And I'll never be him. I mean, he was a remarkable person, but it was a testament to just be nice to people in every facet of what he did. It was fascinating.
Listen, words to live by. Let me ask you this question, kind of in the world of current events as we sit here right now, what's something that's on your mind? Just in general, the world in general that got you thinking about, or that you think that people should be thinking about, or be worried about, or happy about, or anything. Just kind of, what's been on your mind lately?
I get I get a little bit disappointed in the politics of the world today, particularly the country, because it just makes people at odds. When I hear there are relatives that won't go to Thanksgiving with their family because they believe this and they believe that, like that's insane.
Yeah.
I think part of it gets sold by the media. So if you look at, I'm a little way off the topic here, but if you look at the media today, the TV, you have the one station, Fox is right, CNN and MSNBC the left and then far left, and all they do is beat up the other side.
That's it.
And it makes people crazy. I have relatives that some hate this guy that just got elected, hate him vehemently. And some thinks he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I have some friends from Vineland, believe it or not, that live in Palm Beach, and they know him very well personally, known him for years. Tell me he's the nicest guy in the world outside of that world. I go, I don't know. I never met the guy. But there's other people that just can't stay. And it just disappoints me because all they create animosity over what? It's disturbing to me.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I think you're right, and it's kind of like people have lost the ability to be tolerant of different views. I mean, I remember I got elected to
is that right?
a council position in my town at one point, and when I first got elected, my party held all the seats, and it was a 4-year term, and 2 years into the term, there was an election, and the national election kind of drove the vote in a different direction. So the 4 people who were up for re-election, they all got voted out, and now all of a sudden I was in the minority. I was still had 2 years left on the council, but I was in the minority.
It's a whole lot different, isn't it?
It was very different, but was really interesting is, and again, how times have changed is, everybody really worked together and tried to listen to, different opinions. And what we realized was at the local level, especially, it really didn't matter what your national politics were, because you're just trying to help your town, and you're all trying to just collaborate to come up with the best ideas to fix problems, to lower taxes, to, make sure the lakes are clean and all those good things. And everybody was just kind of rowing the boat together, and in fact, agreeing almost all the time, like collaborating and agreeing almost all the time. And meanwhile, completely different, I'll call national politics, but working together as a team. And I even see now, even at the local level. So I that was a few years back. I look at the local level, and that spirit of collaboration is like gone. Like people just, it's like, you're on the other side and my side has to beat your side, and that's it. And so I agree with you. It's a real problem, and it's not. A lot of people say, "Oh, politics has always been that way." I don't think so. It really hasn't. My
Not
favorite example is Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan.
perfect.
Two guys that could not have been more polar opposite.
That's right. Polemical opposite.
Right. And I'm a Boston College graduate, and Tip O'Neill is a Boston College graduate. And there was a book written that I read, because I went to BC, I was kind of, made aware of it, and I read it, and it went into details about their relationship and how they were the closest of personal friends, notwithstanding wildly different political views. But that's kind of a lost art today. So, well, listen, my last question for you is, what's got you excited about the future, right? You've been doing this a long time. When you get out of bed in the morning and get ready to go at it again, like what's got you pumped up about, the future for Dandrea Produce and all the other things that you're involved with?
Let's say I'm on that last lap, right? The truth is, Bill, I just turned 70 January 2nd.
Hey, happy birthday.
Thank you, sir. And I'm very, very encouraged, and I'm going to say it arguably might be my last hurrah with this direct delivery to the home. I think it's the next. If you go back to our original discussion, we've always been in the forefront of produce distribution, whether it's growing, logistics, packaging, storage, blah, blah, blah. I think this is the one that this is where the business is going to go, and that's for a host of reasons. So I get very happy with it. Now we're growing it, and we've learned, and we're doing it well. I would welcome you to go look at it. You can talk to Peter about it. And we're buoyed by the results that what makes me happy about it, Bill, is I'm working with 3 or 4 ex-executives from one of the best retail operations in the country. And I know produce, that's me. But they're in advertising, they're in distribution, they're in the other fields, the meat and things that I'm not. And the surveys that are responded back to us, I'm being told, Frankie, if I had these numbers, 90% happy, acceptance, going to stay with you, they would have paid me twice. So I said, well, great. That makes me enthusiastic. Now it's simply a matter of growing it, because first we had to learn how to get product, not get product in here, but how to package it, how to deliver it. If you're asking for it at 12 o'clock, you don't want it at 6. You want it at 12 o'clock. Right. And all those things we have. So it buoys me, but I think we're on the right track. Again, I think we're ahead of the food distribution as we've been for decades. But we'll see. Who knows?
And now if people want to check it out, is it trygreenlane.com?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
sure.
There you go. Green Lane. All right. So trygreenlane.com. And now, Frank, what geographies is the service available right now?
It's the Delaware Valley. We opened up all of North Jersey, and essentially that's what it is right now. Okay. We're in discussion with some companies that have multiple apartment and retirement facilities, 4,000 units, 2,000 units, 5,000 units, and we're just walking into that. So, yeah, you check it out. Check it out yourself. You'll
I'm going to. No, I'm going to. That's why I asked the question, because
you'd laugh. You ask Peter about it. He'll tease you.
Yeah. Well, Frank, listen, I really want to thank you for coming on today. I also want to thank you for your years of loyalty to our law firm, which we greatly appreciate. But I appreciate you with our listeners sharing, your journey as an entrepreneur and a part of a family business that's now in its 108th year. Really Dandrea Produce, and a remarkable story and a remarkable history. And I'm really grateful that you were able to come on and share it with everybody.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's a first for me. And as to your law firm, you've always served us in the highest quality and capability. I relied on you guys for so much for so long. So thank you for that. I mean, you guys are fantastic at what you do.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks for coming on today.
Yep. Have a good one.